What we're gonna do now is we're gonna export out the base mesh of our character, maybe at subdivision 2. And we're also gonna be exporting out a decimated mesh of our character's head here with all the details on there. Okay, we're gonna use those in Mari. So let's go ahead and do that. Make sure that you have your subtool for the head, and go to geometry. Now, I like to use not subdivision 1. I like to use either subdivision 2 or subdivision 3. Also for rendering it in Maya, I stick to either subdivision 3 if doing it for films. So, for now, yeah, let's go ahead and do subdivision 3. This is what we're going to be this is also the base mesh that we're going to be bringing inside Maya later, okay? So let's go and export that in OBJ. Actually, I'm gonna just put it in my Mari folder here. Okay, ML_base. Okay, now I'm gonna just go ahead and clone this one, and I'm gonna go to my clone mesh, so I only have that head bus for one subtool here, and just making sure that you're on the highest subdivision level. And we're gonna go ahead and decimate this. Let's go to Z plugin and go to decimation master. For this one, let's go ahead and click on keep UVs so that when we decimate this, our UVs will still be intact. And let's go and click on pre-process all. And just wait for a bit. This might take some time. And I'll see you guys in a bit after this is done calculating. Okay, so once it's done calculating, you go back to Z plugin, and we're gonna have to decimate this. And before we click on the decimate button, let's go ahead and bring the points here to around, again, 400k points. 400 verts will be fine. And let's go ahead and click on decimate all. And as you can see, I had brought it down from about, I think it was 4 million before. So now it has around 400,000 points. Okay. And let's check it out. Shift F. And yep, that's fine. Let's go ahead and export this decimated mesh. Export. Samuel_decimated. And those are the two files, two geometries that we're gonna put inside Mari. Okay, we want to be able to look at the base mesh as we are painting, as we are projecting the displacement maps, and we also want to sometimes navigate and look at the detailed version, just so that we could see how the pores are really looking on the actual detailed version of our stuff. Is to make things a little bit more accurate. Okay, we're gonna switch between base mesh and the decimated mesh as we are working on our stuff. And I'll see you when we're in Mari. Okay guys, so now we are here in Mari. We are going to be projecting our displacement maps onto our character in this software program. Let's first load up our base mesh here. Let's go to File, New. And for the geometry tab here, you're going to see Path. Let's click on this little button right here, and let's load up our base mesh. Go find the OBJ file that you have exported out of ZBrush. Okay, so I have it here. So remember, we have the base mesh and we have the decimated version. We're going to first load up our base mesh, and then later we're going to do the decimated one. Okay, so base mesh selected, press open. And then for the channel tab, click on the channel tab. You're going to see a lot of channels here that you could use in Mari. You have the base color, metallic, subsurface, specular. So depending on the type of maps that you know you're going to extract out of here, then you might want to check any of these here that you need. But for what we're going to be using, we just need the base color. Okay, so make sure base color is checked on, and the rest of them could be just turned off. Okay, we don't need any of the others here. And for the size, we could just leave it as 4096. We are doing like somewhat of a low budget film, and that is okay. We're going to get a pretty nice, decent results on that. For more of the high-end films, such as those movies as you see in the movie theater, the big movie theater, they do use something higher, which is 8K or more. But yeah, 4096 will do the job for us, okay? And if you guys have the student version of Mari, you guys could only go up to 4K anyways. So this is okay. And let's click on Create New Project. And just wait for it until it loads up your mesh. Okay, so there is our mesh here, and we are working on the orthographic view here. Okay, and let's load up our decimated version. Let's go to our objects here, objects tab, and for the geometry area, we see the SAML, we see the base mesh that we have imported onto the path when we first created the new project. And for here, for the objects, you should be on the objects panel here. You're gonna right click on the OBJ base mesh that you have, and then you're gonna click on add version and find the decimated version, the one with more details. So click here and open, and just wait for it to load. It might take some time. Okay, so it's loaded up. And if you go back to the geometry here, where you see the drop down arrow, you're gonna see now we see the decimated mesh. So you could go back and forth between the base and the decimated. So this will be good if you're gonna find it helpful if you wanna go look at your mesh in a more detailed way. Let's say you added the pores and you projected the pores from the displacement map, and you think it will help you if you could switch back to a more detailed version of the character. You can always go to decimated mesh. And for now, we could start working on the base. Okay, we could switch between those two later. Okay, but base is what I like to start out with. And right now, our color for the character is light gray, and our displacement maps that we're going to project on our character is similar to this tone of color, and we don't really want it to be almost the same tone, same color, so we're gonna change this color up so it's not light gray. Okay, so that way when we project our displacement map here on our mesh, it's going to be easier for us to see if we have missed any spots. Okay, and it will be hard to do that if our displacement map is almost the same color as our base color for our geometry here for our sculpt. So let's go here to our procedural layer, go to basic, and let's add a basic color. And for our color, let's go and change that from white to another color. I like to use a desaturated red. Choose a color that is different from the displacement map. At the same time, I don't want it to be too contrasted because it just hurts my eyes. I like it to be more of a desaturated color. Okay, something like that, and press OK. And we could also go to Image Manager. We're gonna start to import all of our displacement maps that we're gonna be used. Image Manager, and you could dock it here so that it will stay there. And so remember the face, the forehead, and the nose PSD that we have modified and created in Photoshop. We're gonna drag it onto the Image Manager. Just click and drag onto the Image Manager and just wait for a bit. It's gonna load up. Might take some time for you guys. These are pretty big PSD files, so just have some patience. Okay, there they are. Now let's create a layer, and on that new layer we are going to be, that's where we're going to store our pores, the displacement map that we're going to be projecting. are going to be on this new layer that we're about to create. So create a new layer, and let's go ahead and rename that. Double click, and we could call this one pores. Okay, and we could begin projecting our displacement here. The first thing that what I like to use is I like to use the nose first. That's just my preference. I mean, you know, as you start to get used to projecting here, you'll probably get to choose which one you like to start with. Okay, so I click and drag. Let's click and drag the picture that we want to project onto Mari here. And we could scale this down, Control Shift, and just click and drag. And we could make this a little bit transparent so we could see through the mesh here. Shift minus, as you could see there. Alright. Control Shift and drag to scale it down. And you could control and drag to rotate. Okay, now we could begin projecting here. Make sure that you are on the layers, on the pores layer, and we could start, go ahead and just painting on it, and you could see it's being projected, the displacement map. Now, what I like to do is I like to go to painting here, and I like to set the projection settings. If we go to the projection settings here, okay, so if you go to the projection settings here, we are gonna see that it's set to manual. Right now mine's set to manual. If you set it to manual, yeah, you're gonna have to Control Shift B to bake it down. Okay, I like to go to painting, and I do like to set it to auto bake and clear, so it will just automatically bake it right away. Okay, and that's fine. So after I paint and I start to move, it will bake it right there, and it will clear out the projection. All right. Okay, so we got our first paint there, right? Now, what we need to do, we also need to add a copy channel adjustment layer here, and a copy channel adjustment layer will allow us to see the R, G, and B, which is going to be it will allow us to view the secondary shapes, the secondary pores, the tertiary pores, and the micro pores that we have created. Okay, and let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and right click on the pores and go to add adjustment layer, and let's click on copy channel. All right, now we could see, if you guys take a look here in the drop down arrow, we're going to be able to see our different types of pores, different levels of pores. So we have the red, which is the secondary. We get the green, which is the smaller shapes. And then we got the micro, which is blue, which is the even smaller shape. Okay, so this is what's cool about this copy channel. And later on, we're also going to be exporting each of these after we're done projecting our maps. Okay, now what I like to do is I do like to set it in the middle here. Okay, and going back to pores, we could just turn off if you want. See, when you are painting, you want it to still be red. Okay, for the purpose of us not being able so that we won't be able to miss anything, we want it to be a different color. So just turn off copy channel for now. We could turn it on later. Okay, and yeah, we could just go ahead and paint. And also here, paint. So it's just all about just matching up the displacement map they have with the face. You could click on the brackets to bring down or bring up the brush size. Brackets on your keyboard. And I could bring it up a bit so I could see a little bit more of the shape. Okay, and control and drag to rotate. Okay, and could add these parts that we need. Yeah, make sure that you're not missing any spot, because if you miss any spot here, you might have some issues in ZBrush. Okay? So you want to be able to cover everything. So if you start to see a little bit red that you missed there, then just repaint them. So having a really strong computer with memory, strong memory, will definitely make your life easier. So if you have the money and, you know, find as much as you can, get a computer that will work, you know, invest on your skills. And I think it'd be much faster and more efficient when you are doing stuff like this in Mari. But don't let the tools deter you from getting stuff done, you know. I've known students who have one of those really low-end computers, but they're still able to create good work, you know. It's really all about what's really important more is your motivation of getting things done. Okay. And probably I could control and you have some in here, and could use some of these here. Some of these right about here. Okay, I think that's it for the nose and for a little bit of the face. Hold on, let me see a little bit, maybe a little bit here. Okay, that's it for now. Oops, I think I missed a spot. So, paint it. And also here, paint this. So let's double check everything. You'll see a little bit of reddish there, so I could add a little bit. And also here. So what I've noticed here, if you are using Auto Bake and Clear, what you could do is once you, let's say you start painting like this, you could press the Alt key and it will basically start to bake it and clear everything out when you press the Alt key once. Okay, this is all good. Now we could project the other ones. We could do the face now. Click and drag the face here. And let's go ahead and bring that down. Control Shift and drag to scale it down. And Control and drag to rotate. What I like to do is I try to match up the lip area first. So you could see the lips here. And I could just bring it up. And I do like to start out with the lips first. Then zooming in. Not that close. Went a little farther away. And zoom in. So try to match up the lips, and what I like to do is I like to do one side of the lips first here, and then move on and do the other side. Here. Now, as you guys see, there's this really deep line there, and I don't like to project that onto the model, because onto the sculpt, because it's going to have a little bit of, I don't want a deep cut on my lips when I put it into ZBrush, so I like to stay away from that and just project the wrinkles basically. So just projecting the wrinkles. And I could just kind of rotate it a bit, that, and paint it. Something like that. Okay, and the bottom part, I could rotate a bit, starting on this side here. Rotate a bit, so trying to match it up, and then paint it. And then I could rotate, and here on this side here. And you don't want it too big, you want it to match up with the size of the actual lips. And Control, for this we could add a little bit of here. And yes, on there, also here, yeah, like that. And then we could start to create this part, getting on the pores. Yeah, so what you need to try to do is think about where the nasolabial fold is, and like for this part here, you find the nasolabial fold of your character, and you, I think right here. Okay, yeah, what it is. And we could set it to go to object, and we could look our decimated, so we could see a little better. All right. I guess something like this is fine. Okay, so it's trial and error. and bring these back. Okay. So just painting it all up here. And I like to save it every now and then because sometimes Mari does crashes. We have big files that we're working with here, so I do like to save it every now and then. Yeah, save your stuff. Okay, for this, probably rotate. Trying to match it up with the wrinkle and the label fold there. There you go. And back here, good. Start to paint area. Here you go. And I could use for this area some parts that are red could be painted with this here. Okay. Oops. You still want it to match. If you zoom out of the character, you want to be able to also scale down your projection. Yeah, you want it to match up with the, you don't want some pores to be so big and the other pores gets too small. So you want to be as consistent as possible with this. This just requires some patience, just like any other part of texturing, vertipologizing, sculpting, all that. But I think this is fun though. Okay. And we could do the other side. Alright, other side here. Okay. I love Mari and how we could just project the pores here. It just make things so much more efficient for us and just make it faster rather than doing the alphas for each of these pores that we need that are very specific, like the nose, forehead, face. Those are quite specific pores that we need there. Bring down some of these pores here and bring them there. And we see that there's some wrinkles here, and I really like to add that since I prefer to add my own like bigger size wrinkles that I need. So I just could hide those with the pores. Oops. And just a little bit of spot here So good. Yes, a little bit. A spot that I miss. And I could see here that I think I need to paint a little bit more. Okay, like this. Okay, bring down the brush size. Okay, just to make sure everything is there. And then doing this portion. Yeah, I like to go over this again. Sometimes make sure that no spot is missed. And also here. Okay. Could zoom in. I think I could add a little bit of more the painting for the pores here on the cheeks. So I'm gonna bring back the nose. So I'm just gonna go to my image manager again and bring back the nose one here. The nose displacement. Scale it up. And go ahead and paint it because I want those pores there. Same here. I want those pores here. Alright. And we could press S or click here so we could see it without the photo. And make sure we're not missing any spot. Okay, so you could see some spots that I missed there. So could bring back the face. So you're gonna find yourself going back and forth between these photos, just to let you guys know. Okay, back and forth between these photos. And just bringing down the brush size right there. And just going deep in there, those missed spots. Also here, those spots there. Okay. Thinking that's okay. Now for the eye bag area here, I will be using the face again. Okay, so this is basically my guide, the lips, to how big the pores is. So I try to match it up. And then go and use the pores. I'm gonna use the pores for this area. The face pores, because I don't really want to use the wrinkles that's on that displacement map. I already have my own wrinkles on my character here. And yeah, we could use this here. Yeah, you really need to make sure that the eyes here are cleaned up, okay? Trying to clean it up as much as possible. And I'm just going to save. Also add a little bit of force here in the eye area. So yes, you could see we could add extra things here that came from the face. And we could put some here also. Some of the pores, just lay it down here. Next up is going to be this part, and we could use here. And some of this here. And could bring some of the pores in the eyes here. Some of the pores here also. See, what's cool about this, we could just use certain areas of the displacement on the eyes. You gotta look here at the bottom. You see this? This gotta be fixed. You don't want a messy displacement. And make sure you try to clean that up. And okay, so we got the face here for the most part. Hold on. Let's not forget this. Also, could add a little bit of the pores also here. Probably could scale it down. Yep. That's a little bit too big. You could add a little bit of that. Okay, and let's do the forehead. Drop in the forehead. And there it is. There's our forehead. Good. Try to align things up here. Scale it down. And I'm gonna try to match up the lines that's on the forehead here, the lines on the mesh wrinkles with the lines of the displacement. Right, something like that. And go straight out and just paint that up. Might have to, yeah, it's okay. If we need to modify things, we could do so later in ZBrush. Probably we could add a little bit more of this here, bring it here. Also, this area could use a little bit more here. Okay. And what I like to do is I like to bring back the face again and add a little bit of the face bars just around a little bit in this area here. And for, you know, the head, back of the head, a lot of the top of the head here and the neck, we're just gonna do it with alphas in ZBrush. Okay. For the specific areas like the eyes, the nose, and the lips, and the face here, it's good to have these kind of displacements used because they are quite very specific, you know. And I could use a little bit, could add of course here. Okay, so I would like to add a bit more of the face force here. Try to get it in here. So it's going to be a little bit less work. So here, add some. And a little bit more in the head. Probably a little bit here too. Okay. And then on the other side, just so we could cover more areas. That'll be cool. We could do that. Also here, let's not miss this. you see it calculating, but sometimes you gotta make sure that everything is all good. So try to get the displacement map texture right there on the face as much as you can. Press U to bring back the projection. Okay. Press S to hide it. And U again. Guess I could add a little bit of projection here. Some of those pores that could be brought down here. I think this will do fine. Let's check. Right. We could also bring it back. Some of these pores here, we want those back. Okay, I think that is great. And if you guys look, you might have see that there's like a few mistakes there. Some of the displacement map as we were painting got projected here on the head, and also at the back we got a few issues here that's been painted. Okay, and I'll show you how to erase those. Okay, I'll show you how to do that in the next video. Okay, let's just go ahead and save this.